Somebody doing their laundry?
It sounds like it, doesn't it? And with that, I want to say welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's episode of the ZodWriter Show. I am ZodWriter, and with me, as always, we have my ever faithful co-host, that one, Carlos. How you doing, Carlos?
I am doing magnificent.
And we have the other co-host of the ZodWriter Show, Mr. Johnny Alpha. Welcome, Johnny.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, man. Like I was saying, it's almost surreal that we're going to be talking about actually seeing this film. You know what I mean? That's just so cool. And
it is my honor and privilege to welcome somebody from YouTube that I've been enjoying his content for a long, long time. Cyrus, the video game virus. Welcome to the ZodWriter Show. It is such a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Thank you very much, Zod. I appreciate that. I'm very happy to be here, and it's great to meet these guys. I cannot wait to talk about this awesome movie.
And just to get things started, we have Barcelona B in the chat. She says, "What's up?" And we have Noelle Martin who says, "Hello." I'm so excited. This is great stuff. I mean, we are at a point now where we finally have the movie. It's finally here for everybody to watch. There's no more debate over whether or not it exists or how much it's going to cost to complete the visual effects. All that is over with. I've seen the movie 3 times. Wow. And I actually watched it the third time. I actually watched it yesterday on my little Mortal Kombat mini bar top arcade machine. I connected my Raspberry Pi 4 to the little miniature arcade, and I was able to go in and pull up HBO Max because I have a little an SD card that has what is it called? Google. I think it's called Google TV. The Google TV app on there, and you can run it on the Pi 4. So I was able to watch the Snyder Cut on my arcade, and that was a pretty unique experience.
Wow, yeah.
So I guess I want to start things off by getting everybody's just general reactions of the first time you watched it and what you generally thought. Cyrus, since you're the guest, we'll start with you. What were your general reactions when you first saw the Snyder Cut?
It's been a long time since I've seen a movie that I felt the way I felt watching this movie. And I know you guys have been probably a lot more invested in the whole Snyder Cut story and background and all that kind of stuff. But I was still very interested and, I'm a big DC guy and everything and a fan of Zack Snyder. So anyway, my overall thing, watching the movie, it was long, right? But this is going to sound weird. And let me know if you guys felt like this too. It was long, but every second that passed, I felt like it was moving too fast. Like I was like, I want this to slow down even more because I don't want this to end. It was like, it was so good. Like good is not even, I don't even know. Is that the word to use? It was the superhero movie that I've always dreamed of watching. It was so well paced and put together, and the characters were so interesting. I felt fantastic. I got done watching the movie, and I was like, I had to talk about it and keep talking about it. I love that movie, and I think it's one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I got this like Lord of the Rings type vibe that, I remember the first time I saw Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Rings. And I remember seeing that and being so blown away by it, being so immersed in it from start to finish. And I had that exact same feeling with Zack Snyder's Justice League. I felt like you were, once you got into it, if you gave yourself a few minutes, if you were like some people who figure, oh, we're just going to kind of dabble a little bit, check it out, like our friend Carlos over here, if we're just going to dabble in here and take a quick look, you're gonna get sucked in, even though it's broken into chapters. And I felt like the pacing was off the charts. I felt like the pacing was beautiful. I felt like everybody, it was like Zack Snyder silencing all the critics out there that say that he's a horrible storyteller, that say he cannot tell a story. Listen, that's Warner Brothers. That's the studio's fault. They keep chopping, bits and pieces of his movie here, chopping bits and pieces of the movie there. If you're going to keep chopping up a filmmaker's vision, then you can't complain about the pacing of the movie. You can't complain that it's choppy because it's the studio doing all the chopping. But in this instance, because we got a full 4-hour and 2-minute film, Zach was able to provide enough backstory and motivation for every single character. Every character had room to breathe, and that is something very, very rare in cinema these days. Carlos, your initial reactions, please.
Well, as Zod put it, I did try to dabble in it. So I had that's no, not Sunday. What am I'm mistaking myself. That Wednesday, I had a full day ahead of me. I have class and stuff like that, and I just found myself awake until 3 a.m. I was on a podcast, on the Pop Culture Corner podcast. It was awesome, and what ended up happening was the movie came out. I took about 30 minutes to myself, and I was just doing my thing. And then I just started it, and I'm like, I really need to go to sleep. I have class tomorrow. I don't want to miss it, so I really want to go to sleep and but I need to know, Okay, so I started it, and I just couldn't stop. I continued watching until it finished around 7:50 in the morning, and then now I can officially say that Zack Snyder had affected my my school life, and I totally missed those 2 classes. But I would say it's 2 classes missed. It was worth it.
Okay, that's an awesome initial reaction. So, Johnny, let's go with you. What was your initial reaction like for the Snyder Cut, given your feelings of the Snyderverse, not being like the biggest fan of Zack Snyder's take on this movie, on these movies? What was your reaction?
Well, first off, I like that you guys compared it to Lord of the Rings, because this movie sure did give Return of the King a run for its money with the amount of endings it had. I mean, it was glorious. Though they were great. But I hate to do this, Zod. I got to sit here on your show on a night like tonight. You guys are all so excited, and I got to be the guy, because I got to be honest with you. It was actually really, really rad. I mean, in my opinion, it's the most perfect version of what it was supposed to be and what they were trying to do. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that it changed my mind on certain characters. I still don't really care too much for this version of Superman. But the best thing about this movie is he's only in it for an hour. And I got to know Cyborg. I got to really like Aquaman in a different way than in his film. I mean, it was great. The Flash, the stuff with him and his dad, I thought was really cute. And the like I said, man, like I told you guys before, the flashback war with the old gods, man, Zeus shooting the lightning out of his hands. After that scene, I was pretty hooked. I mean, that was Zack Snyder at his finest. That thing was prettier than anything from 300. I compared it to one of the old Ralph Bakshi movies, like Fire and Ice or Wizards, just like that. Oh, I really loved that scene. So that alone will probably endear the movie forever to me. But I'm definitely better for seeing it. And it is, in my opinion, the greatest thing that has DC Comics attached to it than next to maybe Doom Patrol. That's
awesome.
My first reaction.
Awesome first reaction. And Jeffrey Warfield, welcome back to the ZodWriter Show. Can you please tell us your initial reaction to Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Well, really, I guess the first thing I could say is that the pacing it flows like water. That's really the best thing I can say about the pacing. It just flows like water. It just goes by so quickly, and you're just in for the ride. And really, how I saw it, at first really kind of like a truth here. I really saw it kind of like a different take. Like it seems like for a Zack Snyder film, like it seemed like Zack was actually going for something a little bit different in Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I gotta admit, at first caught me off guard because we had this whole mindset of him going the darker route, but it really went for the more hopeful tone that a lot of people were going for. But if you really think about it, that's actually what Zach was going for. Because if you think about it, like Man of Steel, it was like a mixture of both hopeful brightness and the darkness at the same time. Then for BVS, it was really like all dark, really I would really in that typical term you could really say that it was kind of like the Empire Strikes Back or something like that. But really for me, like it was something like a something very unique to it with for it to be dark. Like it was like the darkest version of the story yet. Then, which actually does concur with Batman as a whole, because let's be real, if you're doing a Batman v Superman movie and you have Batman isn't a lighthearted hero. Let's get that out of the way. So the only way you could do a movie with Batman is to go dark. Or I won't say that. The only good way the best way, in my interpretation, to do a Batman story is to go the dark route, which I did enjoy. Then you go to Justice League, which a lot of people are upset that people didn't see a lot of Superman. I really think that it was enough Superman, because think about it like this: there would be no Justice League if Superman was alive. Like that's really the bottom line. You could say it because Superman is on the top tier of DC characters as a whole. So really, if you really think about it, like the only way that you could do a Justice League film to debut it is to show Superman as little as possible. And then when Superman came, that was really the Superman that was really kind of like the road to Superman finally accepting for what the general audience wants him to be. And really, like, that's what I would like to say if I were to measure it on the hopefulness of the general audience Superman that you got in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I would say that's only the very, very tip of the iceberg.
Very, very well said, Jeffrey. Thank you. And Truth 31, I'm dying, man. What was your initial take on Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Zod. It's awesome.
It's such a pleasure to have you here, man. Thank you for coming.
My initial reaction after the movie ended, I liked it. I didn't love it. And I think it's because of the Whedon version. I had it stuck in my mind that this was the only version that we were ever going to see of Justice League. So I was like, oh, shit. So watching this movie, first of all, the 4 hours went by quickly. I was just like, oh, yeah. Like, the fact that people are complaining about it baffles me. But I was just absorbing everything, and my first take was like, I can't believe I'm watching this. Like, I can't believe I'm watching Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I think that overwhelmed me a bit. And by the end, I was like, okay, it's good. I like it. but I have to watch it again. And I've watched it now about 5 times now. I've watched it, and
Wow. Holy
and the
crap.
more time,
That's awesome.
the more times I watch it, the more stuff I pick up. I enjoy it a lot more. Um, there are certain scenes that still bug me. And Zod knows this. Man of Steel is a masterpiece. That's my number one DCU film.
Mine
And,
as well.
Yeah,
Mine
and
as well.
I was a little annoyed that we didn't get enough Henry Cavill in this movie. But the stuff that we got with Henry Cavill in this movie, amazing. Like him going into the ship and hearing the two fathers going back and forth, and just elevating
It was almost as if the two fathers were talking to each other almost.
Yeah.
Both having a conversation with their son. It was just brilliantly done, like an audio mix that was just perfect.
Yeah,
so I'm with you
that
there.
whole scene was fantastic, especially when you see like the closing shot of him going closer to the sun and healing.
Yeah.
Like that shot is probably one of my favorite Zack Snyder shots in any of his films. Like that was brilliant. The Dark Side stuff, amazing for the amount of time that we got Dark Side, menacing. The history lesson, like every scene in this film felt like a Zack Snyder film, which is what I loved. As a matter of fact, like I felt like this film felt like a Watchmen film, especially with all the musical cues for each and every single character.
Yes.
And every single piece of music for the characters worked. Like I was like, oh yes, like especially the Flash sequence, amazing. Sorry, Quicksilver from Fox. Sorry, Ezra was better. That blows anything from the X-Men movies, and it was just brilliantly done. And like my initial reaction to close it up, I liked it. The more and more I watch it, I'm falling more and more in love with the film. So again, it's a typical Zack Snyder film where you need to watch it over and over again to fully encompass everything that he's trying to say. And it's a solid film.
And last but certainly not least, I want to welcome Skywalker to the ZodWriter Show. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great, Zod. Thanks for having me on, sir.
So just like everyone else here, I want to get your first reaction to Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Man, I have to be honest. Like, you know, I took Thursday and Friday off. Like, I had a watch party that day. I watched Man of Steel first, then Batman vs Superman, straight into Justice League, and I've been trying to separate my feelings from that first movie, but it has just been so hard for me, especially that first time. And like, I just keep coming away like with anger because of everything that has happened. And it's taken us 4 years to get to this point, but I love the movie, man. It is like, it's an absolute masterpiece. I feel like the 4 hours fly by. The way that Zach really delved into all of the characters was super dope. Like, and it feels kind of similar to the 2017 version, but then so much different at the same time. And it's like they really just they really did a number to this movie. And I feel like now that we've all gotten a chance to see it, it's just become much more clear that even the parts that were cool about that other movie was all Zach's footage. Like every single thing that was cool was Zach's footage. And like, you know, I was even screaming it out, like, because I knew that whole part with the Steppenwolf mother box chase and the arrow kind of like I just knew that was Zach. Like I just knew it. And I was like, yo, you know, it's just, I don't know. It was very disheartening, but I'm super glad that we got this movie out and that I was able to enjoy it. And it absolutely did feel pretty surreal being able to watch it.
Yes. And I just want to, point out Mad's Mama Bear's awesome comment here. Dark Side makes Thanos look like a California raisin. I couldn't agree more. We have to look at the fact that we got two of the greatest cinematic villains on screen at the same time that we never would have gotten had it not been for Zack Snyder, and that is Steppenwolf and Darkseid. Both of those villains are incredible. And I will echo this, and I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of something that you mentioned earlier, Jeffrey. You had said that for some people, they kind of felt like Zack Snyder's Justice League, they kind of seen it as like the Empire Strikes Back almost. And I can kind of go with that a little bit, just because I like to compare and say I look at Darkseid and Steppenwolf almost like Steppenwolf is Darth Vader and Darkseid is the Emperor. It's just so, I mean, they're just so, these villains are just so well fleshed out and so well, and everything is so well, well done on screen. It's incredible.
Yeah, and they really, this is just something I really like. Like, this is the only comparison that I'm gonna make with Justice League and the Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is just really something funny that I like. Like, before in Justice League, no one cared about Steppenwolf. Like, they were like, "Who's this guy? He's a punk." And then you have Zack Snyder's Justice League, and after seeing that movie, you have people saying, "Man, Darkseid needs to kill Desaad to get revenge on Steppenwolf. Man, Steppenwolf needs to get rich done dirty." Like, I've been seeing that all over Twitter. So it's pretty funny that to me that Steppenwolf went from a nobody from casual audiences and people who don't know Steppenwolf to now in Zack Snyder's Justice League, they're like, "Man, Desaad needs to be killed for Steppenwolf."
Yes, and we need to definitely give props to Barcelona B for her great comment here. She says, "Was I the only one that actually clapped when Flash didn't fall on Wonder Woman?" I think it's hilarious, because when you look at the fact that, like what you were saying, Jeffrey, Steppenwolf got so much negative flack in Justice League that somebody had made a comment on Twitter about, I believe the comment, and I'm paraphrasing here, was something along the lines of, "Steppenwolf is the weakest villain ever in the DCEU," and Joss Whedon liked that tweet.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that. I was like, so basically, Joss Whedon, you neutered Steppenwolf and took out all the badassery of the character, and then actually turned around and liked a tweet when somebody pointed out what a weak villain he was. The Truth, did you have something in there that you wanted to add to that one?
No, it just goes to show how much of a douchebag Joss Whedon is. Like, the fact that he would like that, it was like, why would you like that? Especially, like, you're the one who messed this up in the first place. You're the one who neutered everyone. You're the one who turned this into a massive joke. And again, it just goes to show who Joss Whedon really is, like his character. Like, his character was really shown when he liked that tweet, and that just made me hate him even more. I was like, man, F this dude.
Yeah, and that goes into something that Cyrus was talking to us about prior to the stream starting. Cyrus had to ask the question of, do we think that Joss Whedon is getting a lot of unnecessary unnecessary hate because he doesn't have any friends right now? Could you go into a little more detail on that, Cyrus?
Let me clarify. I'm not saying it was unnecessary. I mean, we didn't know that a film could be used as toilet paper until Joss Whedon got a hold of that footage. I just was wondering, like, if anybody had thought about like what he was going through right now, because the whole internet is basically like, everybody turned and simultaneously stared at him at the same time. You know what I mean? Like what? like what was he thinking? I understand it's not just him, it's Warner Brothers. He was hired to come in and do something, and they wanted it to be like the Avengers or whatever, so he was doing his little thing. But come on, man, when you see this movie, you can tell Zack Snyder, it was paced, it was thought out, the characters developed, everything was very methodical and deliberate. Okay, for them to chop that up and replace stuff with absolute trash is unforgivable. So I'm not saying that there's no reason to be on Joss Whedon's case right now. I just was wondering if anybody felt maybe a little bad for the guy because
You know
Not at
what?
all.
Wait. You know what? Let me elaborate on that. At first, I did for a little bit, and that was kind of like from the very beginning. But then as I really thought about it and was following on him, and as I was actually following him on Twitter, because this is a actual thing I do. I do follow people that I hate to really see what their mindset is when they're thinking on things, and when he made that what was that tweet that he made?
He did make a tweet making fun of the release the Snyder Cut tweet.
Yeah,
too.
and this is actually what I actually tweeted out to him. Like it really wasn't anything that bad. Like I just tweeted to him asking him a question about like, hey, why are you teasing the Snyder Cut movement and all that? Like I wasn't being mean about it. I didn't send a GIF or anything. I just typed it in, hey, why are you teasing the Snyder Cut movement? And then without mercy, he blocked me for no reason.
That's a badge of honor, Jeffrey. That's something you should feel happy about.
Wait,
Wow.
you got blocked by Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon was triggered enough by you to block you. Jeffrey,
Wow.
That's a win. And Ryan Landis says down here, I doubt Joss Whedon had a lot of freedom with this movie, though. I'm sure he had to cut things way down. Here's the thing about Joss. All that creepy, crappy stuff that we got in Justice League is all his doing because he came in and rewrote the majority of the script. I remember there was a story on set about, Chris Terrio, the actual writer of the true Justice League script with Zack Snyder, said, you guys could at least try using some of my pages. The thing is, Joss wrote all that stuff, so I can't really even give him credit when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that really kind of blew me away is that there's this like thing that people try to say that like Zack Snyder doesn't have a sense of humor in his movies and that they're all cold and hard and that Joss had to come in and put those jokes in there. But if you watch the Snyder Cut, it's actually a lot funnier and even in parts sillier than anything Joss had to try to shoehorn in there. There were really, really wonderful, funny parts with the Flash and Aquaman, like the hat thing, like that had me rolling. That was funnier than anything that they could have tried to force into there. And I think it rivals the best jokes from, more other contemporary superhero films. I think that if they wanted that kind of humor, it was already in the film. Terrio wrote it, like he said, and it looks like Zach actually damn filmed the things, and I guess nobody watched the dailies or whatever to see.
Oh, come on! That scene where Flash takes the hot dog out of midair and uses it with the dogs was one of the funniest scenes ever in a comic book movie. I mean, come on.
Well, because he grabbed the hot dog, and I was thinking, what's up with that? And then it just played out, and it was I don't understand.
And let me tell you how the full impact of the story that was going on once I first saw that scene. Like, you remember that scene where you remember that exclusive clip that was in IGN Fan Fest where it showed the Mother Boxes, the Mother Box Origins, I think it's called. Yeah, that's what it's called actually. When it showed the Flash's mural, let's say, there at the bottom corner of the screen, you have a hot dog that's on the bottom at the bottom right corner, and it was like, and at first I was like, why is there a hot dog on there? But then when you see the movie, like I went immediately back to seeing that hot dog on that mural of the Flash, and I was like, oh wow, wow, Zach really did do that, like. And at first, I thought he was going to eat the hot dog because of the whole metabolism thing. He needs to eat more because his metabolism is fast. But no, it was actually for the dogs And as he was explaining about like, and it helps keep the dogs calm, it was it was even more funnier than that. So it's like, so Zach's comedy actually does have layers to it as well.
And Mads Mama Bear says here when he grabbed the hot dog, I was wondering what he was going to do with it. Yeah, and that's what everybody was thinking. I mean, I don't think anybody was like, I mean, and I'm with you there, Jeffrey. I think people were kind of wondering at that point, you know, is he going to eat the hot dog or is he going to use it for something else? But it was actually brilliant the way it was used. Go ahead, Carlos.
No, I was wondering what was up with it too. I mean, because it wasn't like, you know, like a ballpark one. It was like the, you know, it's like New York style, like long one, and it looked a little undercooked. So it was a really weird shade of pink. But,
right. You know, Flash is a snack hole, but he likes to eat quality snacks. I mean, at least we get, you know, the scene where he goes and he's eating the whole pizza. I'm glad that was a Zack Snyder scene because again, did you guys notice how even the comedic bits in the movie, all the best comedic bits in the movie were Zack Snyder bits that were essentially like nothing that Joss Whedon added to the movie was funny at all. And Skywalker, did you have something you wanted to add to that one?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you know, I would be able to feel bad for Joss Whedon, right? But had he not conducted himself, you know, like he did on set, apparently with even Kevin Smith saying, you know, that he heard about Josh saying some kind of crazy things, right? And you know, even after the fact, right? You know, I would be able to feel a little bit more bad for him, but at this point, I have no sympathy whatsoever. Like they butchered this movie, like they hacked it to actual pieces and served it, and then tried to tell us that we were, you know, that's why this version was never going to see the light of day because they knew. Like, there's no way that you could look at this movie and not know that it is superior in every single way than what you guys served us, right? You know, you peed on us and tried to tell us it was rain. And it's like, no.
They try to give us a cup of Granny's pee.
Won't apply on me. I'm not gonna drink.
When I look at everything as a whole, and I look at the Snyder cut, you know, versus Justice League, it makes it even more clear that the studio didn't care about the quality of the film, didn't care what people were going to think about the film. It was all a financially bonus motivated decision to release Justice League because you can't. There's nothing about the two films. They are literally like night and day. There's nothing about the two films that would make you think that not releasing the Snyder Cut and putting this out instead was a better idea. I just don't see how anybody could think that way. I mean,
you know what makes me the most angry out of everything that was cut or replaced is what they did with Cyborg.
Oh yes.
Yes. I'm going to be honest. I didn't even really like Cyborg in the first movie.
Nope.
I didn't either.
After I watched this movie, I was like, Cyborg was like my favorite character in this movie. He was so cool. He was empathetic. What he did made sense. You felt that whole dynamic between him and his father. Why did that happen that way? What was the thinking taking him out? I mean, Zack Snyder said he was the heart of the movie. Why would you cut the heart of your movie out? Why would you do that?
And really, that's the thing too. Like he could, like even in Justice League, like when I first saw it, like everyone else, like people said that he didn't care for Cyborg that much, but really for me, when I first saw it, Justice League, I was like, dude, I know Cyborg is basically on for the ride, but it's like for the first hour, it's like I could tell that there is something there that Zach wanted us to see. But then when you see the Snyder cut, it's like it's like the Flash and Cyborg, they're the MVP of the Justice League. Like really, that's the craziest part for me. Like the two most butchered characters, the Flash and Cyborg, are the main reason why the world was saved. Without them,
Yeah.
the world would have been destroyed.
Yeah.
And that's just insane to me. Like, why would you butcher these two so hard if they were the two that would save the world?
Exactly. And Ryan Landis says, I'm guessing that Joss Whedon has blocked Zack Snyder on Twitter too. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I actually figure that he's probably muted. I would figure that Joss Whedon probably has so many people muted now because of this release the Snyder cut. I mean, it's insane.
Well, he didn't listen to Zach before. Why would he listen to him now?
Exactly. And you know, with that, I'd like to welcome another one of my online brothers to the ZodWriter Show. What's up, Zebra Fett?
What's going on? How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
It's going good, man.
All right.
Good. I guess I want to extend the same courtesy to you as everyone else here. I would love to get your initial takes on Zack Snyder's Justice League the first time you've seen it, because I know you were one of the lucky bunch that got to see it early.
I was one of the lucky nuts that got to watch it. You know, I mean, it was I stayed up late. I didn't care. I still worked the next day. I didn't take off. I was hella tired, but it was worth it. It's a great film. I mean, it's 4 hours, but you don't miss it. You don't miss the 4 hours. You sort of get lost in the movie, even though it's also beautifully split up into the chapters. So you can start and stop, you know, when you get to another one. It's a nice break. It's really, I mean, it's a great experience. If no one has watched it, then I doubt that anybody in the chat or you know, anybody here on the panel hasn't seen it yet. I've seen it, you know, 4 times. I'm sure people have seen it multiple times as well.
Especially after the news today, where apparently again, with the news of yesterday that came out with Ann Sarnoff, we actually responded by crashing the HBO Max service again, which to me was kind of funny. People I bet that they were expecting us to actually unsubscribe to HBO Max, but instead we did the complete opposite and crashed.
And that's exactly what Zach wants us to do. And I posted a little tweet yesterday, and it was mainly
and your tweet. You know, I really wanted to delve into that just a little bit, because honestly, I think that I'm not one of those people who's ever really been on board with that kind of thing. But in this instance, I felt the same way you did, and that stood out to me.
It was my initial feelings, you know, and when your emotions are so much stronger than your intellect. So you know, I saw that, and I saw the article, and I got really heated, and I was like, you know what, you know, if that's the case, then you know, then damn it all, and you know, pull your money, and because that's the only way you're going to hurt a big corporation is you take their money away. That's how you gut check them, and that's pretty much what I was thinking. But then I was like, I mean, I had sworn off boycotting before, and my good friend Nicotina told me, hey, he used my own words against me, and he's like, there's no need to punish these other people who are a part of these things. This is their job. You're boycotting this, but it's affecting other people as well. So it's really, and then Zack Snyder himself came out, and somebody pointed me to that and said, hey, even Zack says don't boycott, just watch it, keep the HBO Max subscriptions. And I thought of it, and I'd spoken with my other good friend Matt, and he was telling me what Ann Sarnoff says doesn't really mean anything, because she's Warner Brothers, and any venture from Zack Snyder is not going to be a Warner Brothers venture. They're not going to support it. They don't want to support it. They don't like this, even despite all of the favorable reviews, the servers that are crashing, like Jeff said, like, you know, everything that's going on that's positive for the movie, Warner Brothers doesn't care because they don't stand to make any money off of it. And again, that's exactly where I want to hit them, is in the money, in the pocketbook. So there's a little bit of Jason Kilar and Stanky need to get their act together and clean up their house, because there's still a lot of rats. There's still a lot of cockroaches there. That it just needs to be cleaned out. You know, I'm sorry. You know, hey, maybe Kavanaugh needs to go. Maybe Hamada needs to go. Maybe there's a lot of sore losers over there that are taking things personal. And there's a couple other people that I could mention, but there's a lot of people over in the Warner Brothers camp that is just really trying to stir things up. They use certain YouTubers to sort of feed information to get them riled up and or sort of put a bad spin on what's going on with the Zack Snyder movement. But man, you know, like I said on the other show that I was on, every time you see the hashtag restore the Snyderverse, just like and retweet it. It doesn't matter who the hell says it. I don't care what they're talking about. If it says restore this hashtag restore the Snyderverse and they spelled it correctly, then like it, because a lot of people don't spell that shit right. But like and retweet it, and that's another thing that's going to also help the movement. Like I don't feel good or content until Zach at least has the green light to work on his next feature.
Right.
His next Zack Snyder.
I disagree. I think even people that misspell it should be able to support that.
What's horrible about that is as you're typing, it gives you the freaking suggestions. Like, you mean this one?
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, and really just really like put this into.
I agree, Ro.
But yeah, like really just to put this into perspective, like WB has been pushing this narrative of us being toxic, and let's put this into perspective. Like, let's put this into perspective real quick. Like, it would boycotting and from the outsiders' perspective be considered toxic. And I'm gonna be honest, to me, it really does. I wouldn't say it's very toxic, but it would kind of send me a lot of bad vibes.
It's definitely negative. So I agree with you. It's not toxic, but it's definitely negative, and it's something, again, yes, that they can use to spin a narrative against a movement or a group of people like we are, that support this, that would like this. And this is the hypocrisy, is that, they made Zack Snyder change out Green Lantern at the end of the movie. And so he inserted, another character, that he was using in another part of the movie, which was Martian Manhunter, in his place. And so if they're saying that they're creating a multiverse, then it doesn't matter, or it shouldn't matter, who Zack Snyder chooses for his Green Lantern. It shouldn't matter because it's a multiverse. So that means that, that in the Flash movie, they can choose their own Jon Stewart, or in the Captain, not Captain, but the Shazam movie, they can choose, their own. It doesn't matter if any story calls for a Green Lantern, even if it's the same character, Jon Stewart, Hal Jordan, whatever, they can use it because it's a multiverse. And the whole thing about,
Right. And that's the thing. Like, if you really want to get down to it, the multiverse that Warner Brothers is doing should be is kind of like false advertising. Like, they should change the title to selective multiverse. If
they throw the multiverse out there when it suits them.
Wait, but here's the joke that I was going to lead to. Like, it should be called the selective multiverse. We can insert it if we want it, but not if you want it.
Sure. Yeah, no, I exactly agree with that.
I really, really hate
movie.
That, I hate it. The multiverse. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Oh no, just like that mentality of I'm gonna cherry pick this, and that, and it's all good because it's the multiverse. I mean, Coach A said it best in the comments like a few streams ago that the multiverse is an excuse not to build anything. Like,
yes,
Well, it's just okay.
It can be. I'm not entirely rejecting the idea of the multiverse. It can be done, and I think it can be done well. But the way that DC is trying to do it right now, I think that's lazy. But yeah.
It is because the multiverse was never going to be a thing. It's only because of the Batman movie that was supposed to be Ben Affleck, but now that it's Robert Pattinson and this thing has come back out, and they're still using Wonder Woman and Aquaman from the Snyderverse, and they're building that, and they also have Shazam, and that's building off of it with another movie, and you have Black Adam that's connected to the Shazam movie. So they had to do it. It's out of necessity, but see, it's also like, okay, take for example the recent casting of Supergirl, Sasha Calle, and so you have a Supergirl, you have Kara Zor-El, I guess. I'm assuming that's who they cast, Kara Zor-El. So Zack Snyder also has a story for Kara that he's still not letting. He's keeping it close to the chest, just like he's keeping Robin, his death, and all that close to the chest as well.
There's the Man of Steel prequel comic though.
There is the Man of Steel prequel comic, and that is it does connect to the Man of Steel movie. It is subject to change because he is fluid. He does change things a little bit, and he can hindsight's 2020. He might have a better idea later for her, but he is using her. She does fit somewhere in his story because he has made mention of it twice. He's not going to tell anybody anything about it. If he didn't care, he would have already let us know when like the Man of Steel watch party was going on, or during the trailer talk when he was talking about how the Justice League is walking by that same Koresh, the open Koresh. He said stay tuned, and the reason why he said stay tuned was because he still has something cooked up in his mind that he would like to flesh out. But because of you don't like the multiverse, is he mandated to use Sasha, or can he choose his own actress?
Man, I'm about to go off on this multiverse thing.
Well,
hold on. I want to hear from Carlos first.
In terms of that, because Snyder was the initiator, because he was the first one, the first case, and now he sets the precedent. I don't think he should be regulated to that. I think anybody that wanted to branch off of that should be regulated to that. So you could have if you really, 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 really don't want to have, let's say, Snyder's Dark Side Saga. You really don't want to have Snyder's Henry Cavill Superman. Then it's like, well, if you say no to one, then you can't say yes to. You can't take Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. You can't take Jason Momoa's Aquaman. And you can't take whatnot. So you're gonna have to make your own Elseworld. Hey, you can make the Batmans and you can make Jokers all day you want.
Well, that's awesome.
And it could be, and it's awesome, and it could be glorious, But if you want to if you want to utilize this, then you need to respect the Snyderverse and branch off of that. So there is a prime timeline that we follow, and then there could be spin-offs off of that.
And then but in the Flash movie that they're coming out with, it's using actors from the Snyderverse and then new actors that are not part of the Snyderverse. And if there's actors like Supergirl that are not part of the Snyderverse, but acting with the actors from the Snyderverse in this new entity, this new movie, then Zack says, okay, I want to do Zack Snyder's Justice League Part 2, which actually has Kara in it. Or maybe she's not in that. She's in Part 3 that has Kara in it. He's going to have his own Kara. They have their own Kara. And they're mixing actors. So it does blur the line and make it fairly confusing for your general audience.
Yeah.
Yes. And Rel McMillan says down here, when you have people outside of the movement wondering why the Snyderverse isn't continuing, there's no way the Snyder Cut isn't a hit. I think Rel hits it right on the head here.
Yeah. And really just going about this whole multiverse thing, like the multiverse and WB's side of things and Snyder's side of things are completely different. Now, for those of you who really didn't kind of pay attention to the Snyder Cut, Zach actually did mention three times actually about the multiverse. The first one when one of the Amazons said that Seven Wolf is going back to his universe, then Desaad when he was talking about the multiverse and name dropped it, and then the Joker in the Nightmare timeline, he mentioned alternate timelines, aka alternate universes and stuff like that. So for my instance, the multiverse as of right now, with how WB is, would never work and have an end game because because from what I've gathered from past Zach interviews and from the Snyder Cut, exactly it was going to involve the multiverse into a sense of like kind of quote it like the Final Crisis arc where it's the entire multiverse versus Darkseid, where the entire multiverse was kind of like its own Justice League. So that's what I think Zach was going for. But since WB is doing their own multiverse, it's really going to be very complicated and it probably won't work as of right now.
All right. Well, thank you for that take, Jeffrey. And with that, I want to welcome Lord Koj onto the chat. How are you, man?
Hey, Koj.
I'm good. Thanks for being here.
It's so good. It's so good to have you as always. And like everybody else here on the panel, we've all given our first takes of how we felt about Zack Snyder's Justice League. Could you give us your initial thoughts when you first watched the movie?
Oh, I was in awe. It's everything I wanted and more. It's beautiful. It's great. And it's funny because this is all done like 2017, so you can see where everything's spun off. Even the soundtrack to like Krypton was even borrowed from the score to like Snyder Cut, Superman, Lois, everything. It's just like, dang. Instead of releasing the film, they just play with the embers and then just go from there. It's weird. But yeah, I freaking love it. It's amazing. I'm still watching it. I'm like on my 12th viewing.
Wow, 12 viewings. I think you've topped everybody here. I want to go around the panel now and get the number of times people have watched the movie. For me, it's 3. How about you, Carlos?
It's 2 plus like rewatching my favorite scenes.
Okay, and you, Cyrus?
I've only seen it once.
Okay, Truth?
5 times.
Jeffrey?
10.
Johnny?
No, like for real. Like before I came on the stream, I was actually watching the Snyder Cut, and then I remembered, oh shoot, there's a stream going on with Zod. So yeah, I would say 10.
Okay, Johnny, how many times?
Only once so far, but I am gonna dive back in because I enjoyed it so much, and I want to see if I did miss a few things. But
okay,
yeah,
Skywalker.
6.
Wow. Okay, Ryan. How many times?
1 million times. I've watched it 4 times.
Okay. So so everybody here has pretty much seen the movie multiple times, except you, Cyrus. When do you plan on watching it again, Cyrus?
Well, Sunday I have a appointment with the rest of my family to share this movie with them. So
Yay!
Yeah, I'm planning on before then I'm going to go rewatch Man of Steel and the Batman vs Superman special edition, and then I'm going to go watch this.
Yes. And speaking of the Batman v Superman special edition, and yes, Mads Mama Bear, you are always welcome on here. There is room for one more. You can definitely join us if you'd like to. Speaking of Batman v Superman, the special edition, or not the special edition, the I like to call it the upgraded edition that Zack Snyder did with the IMAX aspect ratios, is available right now digitally. If you own the movie digitally on movies anywhere. Movies Anywhere has upgraded to the Zack Snyder, to the new version with the IMAX scenes and everything. Just because the disc is sold out everywhere, I pre-ordered the disc day one when it first went up for sale, and Amazon hasn't shipped it out yet. It's sold out everywhere. I'm telling you right now, with BVS still being as popular as it is, the fact that WB sees the popularity of that movie in addition to what they're getting with Zack Snyder's Justice League, I don't know what's a cul-de-sac. I think the universe that they created outside of the Snyderverse is the cul-de-sac. But that's just my opinion. I don't really know.
Do you guys think that there's actually a pretty good chance at us getting the verse restored? Zach coming back, because he's got a sweet deal with this Land of the Dead thing right now. So it would be a while before he does get back to it. It would have
They would not have greenlit or allowed him to do the nightmare sequences if they didn't already have talks with him about that. They would have left it off with Superman, opening up his shirt, fading to black, and it still would have been a fire movie, but they wouldn't have shown you the nightmare sequence. They wouldn't have cared to show you the Martian Manhunter, talking to Bruce at the end. They would have left that off. They would have been like, no, just end it here, and it's still a great movie. But because he was able to film that last year in October, that means that they're already talking to him about continuing on. They have, they wouldn't have invested $70 million.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I want the Nightmare World movie. Like after that scene, I was just like, it reminds me of one of my favorite comics, The In League by Rick Remender, and I was just like, yes, dude, just make that movie. Yeah, I wish I could watch that, but the Snyder Cut was okay. But dude, I want that Nightmare World movie.
Oh yeah, and guys, we have to give a warm welcome to Mads Mama Bear. Mads, it's a pleasure to have you here on the ZodWriter Show. Thank you for coming.
Oh no, thank you for having me, and hello, boys.
Hello.
How are y'all doing tonight?
I really want to get your initial reactions on the Snyder Cut, because you are the only female on the panel. So what were your initial thoughts?
I was sending out to the other queens gifts of, the goosebumps and stuff as I was watching as I was watching it. So that was my first real initial reaction, because it was just, that was exactly what we should have seen from the beginning. Some of you guys know me. I'm a huge DC fan from way back. I grew up with it. And it's just, and seeing Cyborg done like that, because that is his original story arc from the comics. That's pretty close to it. So that is how he should have been introduced in the first place.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And how many times have you seen the Snyder Cut?
I'm on my third, but yeah, bear in mind, I do have the a little one kicking around, so that kind of takes away my time.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great though that people have all been excited to see it, and it just seems like even the people that were on the fence about it and didn't really think it was going to be good or didn't like it have all come around. I know several people.
I'm right here,
including you, Johnny, who were really not a big fan of Man of Steel and BVS, and were really not expecting much from the Snyder Cut. And it's so nice to see people change their tune and be on board with the continuation with the Restore the Snyderverse hashtag. I'm seeing it all over the place now, and it makes me feel really good, because I feel like personally we're being vindicated as fans of this, iteration of these characters. It's nice to finally get some vindication and see, look what you could get if you just give the filmmaker the time that he needs to build the universe, to give us to tell the story that he wants to tell. And again, I keep going back to the idea that the studio keeps meddling with these movies. They keep cutting these movies. They keep editing out parts and making all these changes. Well, how do you expect the movies to be a success when you keep cutting into what the filmmaker is trying to do? You're ruining the story, and then the director has to take all the crap about, oh, this movie is clunky, this movie has bad pacing, this movie is this movie is that. Just let the filmmaker make the movie that they want to make. And Johnny, you made a great point prior to us coming on the air when me, you, and Cyrus were talking, and you brought up the idea that, about allowing Zack Snyder to continue to tell long form stories. Could you go into some more detail on that?
Well, just watching this, I think that he would be better off at being a showrunner, just because this was, in my opinion, it was very much structured like a Netflix show, but it was paced better. I mean, like the whole thing started off, you had the fight with the Amazons right off the bat. Then you got the nice slow setup moments. You got the exposition dumps for a couple hours, but that was fun because you got the beef at the beginning. And I think that in the future, him carrying on, I think it would be better if, they were saying that maybe this would be in a mini series. I would say that maybe give him a longer form, have these guys come in and have him film these like Lord of the Rings-esque 8-hour epics with these people, and just until he runs out of ideas, and like a comic book creator does, like Mama Bear will probably agree with me. She's got to where the events just get unreadable, but until that happens, I'd say let this guy just do it, because I had a blast, and I really do think that everything Zod had been telling me over the years that I kind of snickered at is entirely true. This guy has had some really wonderful things to try to say with these characters, and lack of faith, or I don't even know what to call it, but he just was not allowed by his peers and the people who should have looked and seen it. Like, the dude was doing, at least with this movie and what I saw, I would like to actually go and see the cut footage from the other films now, but I do get back to the original point. I think it would be best if he just would do almost like this every time, just a series basically, but as
just a long form movie. Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't necessarily have to be long form per se, just however long the story calls for. And that to me has always been the thing, because if you look at it, the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman is exactly 3 hours and 2 minutes long. The Justice League Snyder cut is exactly 4 hours and 2 minutes long. So Zach has a specific idea of what he's trying to do, with these stories. He knows where he's going. He knows what he's going to do. And I think if you give the filmmaker, and not just Zack Snyder, but any filmmaker, the amount of time they want to tell the stories they want to tell, you won't have problems with people constantly complaining about pacing issues and this, that, and the other. Because if you got to keep sacrificing parts of your movie, then that's why the movie's going to suffer. So does anybody here think that that the Snyder cut of Justice League, the way that we got it now, the 4 hours and 2 minutes on HBO Max, does anybody think in their right mind that there was any way that this type of film was going to get a theatrical release? Because I don't think that Warner Brothers would have ever released it theatrically.
No.
I'm really.
I think there's a way
to. But here's the thing about that.
They could have two-parted it.
I'm actually gonna really realistically, if you really do think about it, I would actually say yes. And here's why I would say yes. Because you have to think that you have to think, at least if I was in WB, and you know how, and this is a very realistic thing, because everyone knows that there are focus groups and they always watch it at a theater. So really, it would be kind of like a big experience there, and really for that, I think that this would have been okay in the movie theaters, because here's the thing: there would have been and Zach, who you gotta think, Zach had a 3.5 hour movie at first, or the 2:14 cut, but you gotta think that if there was, like, I think Justice League 2 was originally going to be 4 hours if we're going to be realistic about it. And I think if Justice League 2 would have come out, all you needed to do was have a intermission probably at the 2 hour mark.
But I mean, you got to think about DC. I mean, on WB's history, Peter Jackson had to fight to get the Lord of the Rings put out as a
Yeah, that's
three-parter.
true.
They wanted to have it as a two-part film, and they wanted it like 90 minutes each part of the two-part.
But then he
film.
did the exact reverse when it came to The Hobbit.
Right.
Just stretched that one. It was one book, but like, let's make three anyways.
I can put a song in here. But yeah, no, okay. So there's a part that I agree with Jeff in that, number one, Zach already has charity screenings lined up for IMAX, so he's already got he's doing a theatrical. Would Warner Brothers have done it? That was your original question. I think if COVID wasn't in place and they did green light the Snyder Cut and there was a way for Warner Brothers to distribute.
I'm actually I need to reword what I was going to say. I'm sorry, Zeverfet. What I was going to say was I was talking about not now. I was talking about in 2017.
Oh, in 2017, would they have released it if Kevin wasn't there and did not mandate the 2 hours? Would they have released it as a 2.5 hour? What was it? 2:14 cut?
If it was would they have allowed Zach to do the 4 hours, the full movie that we got now?
No.
What we got now?
No. They would have had him trim it. It wouldn't have been a 2 hour mandate, but they would have had him trim it. Possibly, I would give it 3 hours. I would give it 3 hours, roughly. I wouldn't go beyond 3 hours. So you'd be missing an hour of footage. So yeah.
Sounds about right.
And really, that's the thing about the runtime for the 4 hours. That, like, as I've been watching the Snyder Cut 10 times now, like the Snyder Cut, like if Man of Steel was the Superman world builder, aka Metropolis world builder, and if BVS was more of the character study of where Batman is now and what the media is thinking, I would think that the Snyder Cut as a 4 hour movie, what it is as a whole, with that 4 hour runtime, is a DC world builder as a whole. Because you go to Central City, you go to a little bit of Metropolis and to the city bits a little bit. You go to Cyborg's world a little bit. You go to Flash's world a little bit. Like, you go into all of these heroes and villains worlds a little bit. So I think what the Snyder Cut was meant to be was a world builder for it to set the whole stage for the Snyderverse.
All right, thank you, Jeffrey. And I want to just take a moment to say bye to Ryan because he's got to bounce. Thank you, Ryan, for jumping on the show.
Man, it was my pleasure
here as always.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for.
I mean, you always have great takes, dude. So thank you again for being here, man.
You have a great panel here. So I mean, I'm not really adding much more. So you guys can handle it. Take it from here. Everybody in the chat. It's good to see you guys, and Zeverfet out.
See you later, man.
See you later.
All right, so I guess right at this point, I want to kind of get everybody on the panel, get your perspectives on where you think we're going now that we've established that we have the Snyder Cut. The idea that if the Snyderverse is going to continue, it's going to continue on HBO Max, obviously, because Warner Brothers seems like they don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. As Ann Sarnoff has pointed out, she's pretty much washed her hands with the whole thing. And for me, I kind of get the impression from what she was when she was talking, she was speaking from a Warner Brothers perspective and not necessarily a perspective of anything else, but ruling it out as far as theatrically and as far as what Warner Brothers themselves are going to be doing in the future. Is that how all you interpreted it? I mean, because I don't think that she's necessarily speaking for HBO Max as a whole. So I think that HBO Max is going to be where it continues, if it continues, and especially with her actually going on record when she was asked directly about the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, and she said right then that there's no plans to develop the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, when we know for a fact, we've known for a long time, that they've been working on the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. So I guess we'll start with you, Carlos. What do you think? Where do you think we're going?
Well, I think it is Ann Sarnoff is talking about a Warner Brothers perspective in terms of like theatrically, because she is like I tried to double check. I just wanted to really make sure, and it's still like, unless I'm wrong and unless Google's wrong and a lot of other people are wrong, she's the CEO of Warner Brothers Entertainment. She's not a Warner Media representative per se. You know what I mean? So if like all these articles are saying, it's Warner Media's Ann Sarnoff, but I could be wrong with that. But anyway, I think the Snyderverse does have a future. And I do have faith in HBO Max's role in that. I know Jason Kilar, he's the CEO of Warner Media. I don't know how involved he is in like saying, I mean, I don't know what kind of say he has. I mean, he is the top dog in that company. I don't know if his word is law, but I'm pretty sure it is. But from what I see, he's very impressed. He's always been interacting with the fans and loved promoting this, and the fans just keep on delivering and delivering and delivering. And that's just kind of what we have to do for like this is, we have to ready the armada of tweets. You know what I mean? Like we got to use the old ways once again. So release the Ayer cut was trending. So anytime we get hit with with one blow, we hit him back with the counter blow. So I have some good faith that we're gonna get the Snyderverse restored to some extent, and who knows? Maybe the Snyderverse will take in so many viewers away from Warner Brothers projects that Warner Brothers would have to assimilate back into the Snyderverse.
Excellent thought process. Cyrus, you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I don't know enough about the behind the scenes stuff to really tell you what I think will happen. I can tell you what I think would be cool. I would really like to see this become a HBO TV show. And I think if it was like a show that had like, I don't know, 10 episodes a season, then sort of like Game of Thrones was kind of structured. They could spend a lot of time telling some stories before all this and with different characters and tie in things in different ways that would make more sense for a TV show. It might add a whole new life that we've never seen just from doing that. And seeing him structure this movie sort of like a TV show, kind of seems like that would be a great way to transition, like to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was broken up into parts, essentially like a 7-episode miniseries. So yeah. if you look at it that way, I mean, he might, and if it continues on. And I think you're onto something there, Cyrus, because if it were to continue on HBO Max is going to be looking for ways, to maximize everything and to continue to build a subscriber base and to get things moving forward in that direction. So I kind of get the thought process that might be something that we could be in store for. What do you think, Truth?
Yeah, I think the future is HBO Max because I don't see Ben Affleck wanting to go back as Batman with Warner Brothers, despite the Flash involvement. Zack Snyder definitely doesn't want to have that headache again.
There's there's stories going around that Michael Keaton may be dropping out of that Flash movie. So I kind of am a little worried about that Flash movie moving forward. I think they've got some trouble there. Continue, Truth.
I think everyone should be worried about that Flash movie, not just like that movie just is going to be one big mess. But yeah, I do think Jason Kilar, and I think Stanky. I think he's above Jason Kilar, if I'm not mistaken. I think,
yeah, he's the head of AT&T.
Like the final words, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think the future is HBO Max, and because they need content, they want more subscribers, they have a fan base. I mean, I think HBO Max crashed again, if I'm not mistaken, from people watching the Snyder Cut.
Yes.
So I think Jason Kilar is smart. I think Ben Affleck wants to do the Batman v Deathstroke. Joe definitely wants to make that happen. So yeah, Warner Brothers, let them have their Batwheels movie, let them have their stupid ass Zatanna movie, all that nonsense, and people like the main meat and potatoes on the Snyderverse will be on HBO Max, and fans will flock to that.
It's like HBO Max will be competing with Warner Brothers. So with Warner Brothers, you'll have the Hamada-verse, and with HBO Max, you'll have the Snyderverse, and they'll be duking it out, and we'll see who's more successful. I mean, because again, I said this earlier, they greenlit Wonder Woman 84. The sequel to Wonder Woman 84, and that movie has been received as largely mediocre. Nobody's really talking about it, and yet they greenlit that sequel, and we got crickets when it comes to a Snyder Cut sequel. So I'm wondering, I think that's all again part of the propaganda from Warner Brothers. And Johnny, what do you think?
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Oh. You want to go, Jeffrey? Go ahead and go.
Yeah, Jeffrey, you can go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So, really, in terms of the Flash movie, I can confirm that this is actually what Michael Keaton said about him being in the Flash movie. He actually has confirmed on Screen Rant that the reason why he hasn't said anything about the Flash movie is because he hasn't signed anything. So they only prematurely announced that without him signing a contract or anything. So in terms of restoring the Snyderverse, I think I think Jason Kilar will restore the Snyderverse, and really I think that's really going to be the biggest battle in Hollywood. Like, forget the DCEU versus the MCU. Like, let's get to the Hamadaverse versus the Snyderverse.
Yeah, and John McIntyre has a good point here. He says, how many strikes do Sarnoff, Emmerich, and Hamada get before someone steps in to put a stop to their bad decisions? They're like brainless MacGyvers fixing things with a paper clip and chewing gum. And I couldn't agree more with that. I think that's exactly what we're looking at.
Right, and this is actually something very interesting. And sticking to that comment about Sarnoff, Emmerich, and Hamada real quick, because apparently this actually was confirmed by the same person who interviewed Sarnoff. He actually tweeted out that apparently Ray Fisher's NDA is done. So he can now speak on literally everything, on all the details. And apparently, according to Lightcast, he's actually promoting the multiversity stream and the comic book debate stream that Ray Fisher is going to be in for tomorrow. And they are saying that you really do need to watch that stream. So I think tomorrow is going to be very interesting in terms of this new Ray Fisher development.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jeffrey. And Johnny, what do you think?
I think, like I said, he kind of gave Return of the King a run for its money with the endings of this film, but like each ending was just like another thing of him pulling out of his little Pandora's box. He's like, "Hey, dude, check this out. I actually took Jesse Eisenberg, Lex Luthor, and I made him cool. Don't you want to see him a little more? Well, yeah, you're gonna have to play my game to get that. Oh, dude, check this out. We got Deathstroke, and look how badass he looks. Yep, you're gonna have to play my game if you want to see more of that. And check this out. Check out this Nightmare World scene that's just brutal, and they don't even show you any. They're on a damn overpass with a busted cityscape behind them, and it's probably one of the neatest things I've seen in like a superhero movie in a while. So like, yeah, he knows what he's doing, and I think that what Zever Vet answered my question earlier, saying that he probably talked with these people, and there are fires in the irons in the fire, so to speak, for these things, that I think that there's a good chance that we might actually see them, and that's why they were actually indeed included in the film. And that's groovy, because the Batfleck was always a thing that I wanted to see. That was actually one of the most my most hyped things from the original version of the Snyderverse. So bring that crap on. Like, I want to see all of it, and I don't really care about the Hamadaverse versus the Snyderverse, because I like Birds of Prey and some of those movies. They're trash, but they are fun trash, and I like that kind of film. You know, give me some hot chicks with baseball bats whacking dudes in the face. I'll watch it, man. I like Resident Evil too. So like,
Okay.
so, but, I'm down with whatever Zach can pull off on HBO Max. I will definitely be checking it out, just like anything else in the comic book sphere, though. That's just my shit.
Yeah.
And always
All right.
will be.
And Skywalker, what do you think, man?
Man, I think one thing that really goes for certain, and that's that we've shown that there is definitely money to be made with Zack Snyder and his entire universe right now. It's the biggest thing popping, point blank period. It's trending every day, right? It's pretty much taking over the cultural zeitgeist. I do think that we will be getting the Snyderverse restored on HBO Max. I think it's going to be probably like a bunch of shows and long form storytelling, which I'm all here for. And even recently, I think that WB is really not wanting to compete with Zack Snyder. And I think that some of the other directors probably aren't happy. I'm sure Matt Reeves and James Gunn, right, are not happy with all this talk about, Ben Affleck as Batman and David Ayer's Suicide Squad, right? When you have the sequel coming out and this Peacemaker show that nobody asked for, right?
I mean, is it a sequel? I don't even think it's a sequel.
Yeah,
it's like it's its own thing.
It's like a spiritual sequel, but it's a reboot kind of, but it got the same people in it. Like, it's just super weird.
Like Ghost Rider 2 was like, basically it's like the Ghost Rider 2 movie. It got Nicolas Cage in it, but it's like its own thing apart from the first one.
Yeah, and like, it's just all super weird, and I think that they really don't want to compete, right? But and them not letting him use Jon Stewart, right? Probably goes to show that they're not really looking forward to this whole Snyderverse versus Hamada Burger thing, because that's pretty much what it is.
Okay, and so now next, I want to go to Mad's Mama Bear. What do you think?
They really shot themselves in the foot before they even put out the movie originally, because they had the thought that nobody would be interested in seeing a cyborg movie. But if they had done the cyborg movie beforehand, that could have cut down a lot of the time that was into this version, because that was a necessary storyline. And I know they think that he's like a third tier character that that nobody really knows or would be willing to see him. Nobody knew. Most people didn't know who Iron Man was before his movie.
Right. Yeah.
He's king of the B list at best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I mean, he's definitely, Cyborg is definitely proven. Well, Zack Snyder's definitely proven with the storyline for Cyborg in this movie that he is a top tier character. So now,
Digital God.
I would expect us to be getting more of Cyborg on HBO Max. That's pretty much
Right. And
that should be a given at this point. Mads,
yeah,
do you see that happening?
I really want to see that happening.
Yeah.
Whether somebody in WB pulls the head out of their whatever and realizes to give this guy the green light, because he even did what a lot of us thought would be impossible. He made Aquaman cool.
Yep.
Yes.
He made Aquaman really cool. So that alone is impressive. But they really do need to hand this guy over, whatever, whether it be HBO Max, WB, or another company entirely. Somebody needs to let this man continue, because you've got the entire world. So you got a good chunk of the world celebrating this.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lord Koj, your thoughts?
Yo, hallelujah! The movie's out. I'm just thinking the future is definitely going to be in HBO Max because they're more flexible. Seems like Warner Brothers is I don't know. I feel like if they're passing up on this, they are committed to something else, something that they think is bigger. And it just seems like I have this theory that they've been trying to sell DC off to something else or merge it with Marvel. Who knows? But they're headstrong on some other plan, and it's whack, it's little, it's cheap, it's petty, it's simplistic. They don't care because it's just weird seeing this as a straight up gold mine, and they're like, we prefer copper. It's like, what the hell?
Right.
And then
right.
The length thing always bothered me. That's more of a cultural thing because I'm familiar with Indian cinema, and the movie is as long as it needs to be for a story. I've seen in theaters, even here, films that are 3.5 hours on regular to 4 or 2 hours close to 3. So that's just a cultural thing. That's going to change because everything's going to be digital. Everything's streaming. People are watching longer movies and doing just online anyways. So the time constraint to suffer story just to fit in some corporate type of system of get you in theater, get out. It's just bullshit. I can't wait till that dies out. And this might be the first film praised and celebrated to maybe start on that way, because I want to see films without limitations. I want to see storytellers without limitations.
Yes.
I want this quality. This is where we're going because the audience is maturing. We're way more culturally aware. We're way more aware of what goes on in filmmaking. And just seeing how they were able to brush all these little comments on we have no intention of releasing the air cut, or whatever, it just tells me that the factions of power to cause this bullshit Justice League are still there. And they're not going to be there until 2023. So maybe after that or around that time, we'll see HBO Max can't its own thing, which I hope. That'd be great. I want to see it continue. And here's the one thing I hate too. Just because one thing exists doesn't mean another thing can't exist. You can have more than one Superman or Batman or whatever.
Yes.
They could have their freaking their universe of furries where it's the Super Pal pets and it's a musical. Think of Milo and Otis with capes, and then there you go. That's Warner Brothers. That's the direction they're gonna go. Then you have that. That's fine. And then you have the
live action,
whatever. Yeah, live action. Yeah, they're gonna be talking and everything. And then you have our Snyderverse, which is what everyone else wants now. I mean, it'd be great. I have so many people that didn't even talk to me, but knew of me on social media and in person. They knew I was the Snyder Cut guy in my region. I'm sure you all are as well, Snyder Cut guys and gals. So they're all coming to me saying, "Hey, any more of that Snyderverse? What's new? What's the scoop?" So I think we just gotta keep celebrating it, make this a huge fandom, and that in itself will be a big bang. And either they're just going to be either smart or ignorant.
Exactly. And I want to welcome two additional panelists who have joined us right now. We have Cisco and we have Prime. So I want to start off with you, Cisco. Where do you think things are going to go now that the Snyder Cut is finally here?
Hey, what's up, all? Thanks for letting me jump in. Yeah, I mean, this whole thing is just, it's just ridiculous that when we've been discussing this, I think ad nauseum for the last almost year, with all these machinations that are going on with Warner Brothers and HBO Max and AT&T. But of course, the wise money, I mean, is where Zack Snyder is able to continue his arc on HBO Max, and if they sign him to a deal, he could, produce other DC or non-DC related content through his production company, Stone Quarry Productions, right? I mean, when it comes to the movie studio, sooner or later, this nonsense has to end. And hopefully Stanky, and who's the main head of AT&T, and of course Kilar, they start, getting everybody on the same page and realizing, you know what? We're all team players here. We're all one organization. Yes. We have to all have one vision. And if you're not part of it, if you're against it, or if you're backstabbing one division compared to the other one, then you got to go. And sooner or later, this has to come to a head, because this whole PR stuff, I mean, it's a PR nightmare.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, how could Sarnoff come out here and say that after the worldwide success of Zack Snyder's Justice after only, 5 nights? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's crashing servers. I mean, and it's going to continue to be a success. And boy, I swear, you don't come out and praise it. If you come out and just, talk down to the fans and the audience and your consumers. And it's like, wow.
Right. Notice how Ann Sarnoff made it a point to call out toxic fandom. Was that not ridiculous that she even commented on that? Unbelievable.
Absolutely ridiculous. And it's like you're poking the bear. And that's just going to wake up the fandom, at least the Snyder fandom, a lot more, and say, you know what? We're still here. And that's the thing. Either you make sound business decisions. I think we had all hoped that Jason Kilar and Stanky at over HBO Max, they're not egging, just telling us what we want to hear and, feeding it down to Ann Sarnoff. We got to hope that they actually are smart enough to make sound business decisions and continue the Snyderverse on HBO Max, because it's going to be great content and it's going to provide numbers and money.
That, because I want to add the fact that they focus on the toxic part, where we still haven't heard anything about all those love letters we sent her saying, "Hey, congratulations for your job" and all that.
Yeah. What about all the heartfelt letters we wrote to Walter Hamada? Hell, back when we did that campaign, I wrote a 5-page letter to Hamada myself. I never heard back from the man, and now I know he's nothing but a backstabber.
And then what we hear back is like, "Oh, they're toxic."
Yeah, we're toxic. Yeah.
And really, this actually does connect it to, like, this actually on paper does seem to be irrelevant to the case, but this actually is relevant to the case. Ann Sarnoff should have gotten those letters, because there's this. Remember the whole Joker fiasco where that happened? On the same day where there was actually a letter on the news that came out where Ann Sarnoff got a letter about someone being very reluctant about the Joker and the whole fiasco on that. So if Ann Sarnoff, logically speaking, if Ann Sarnoff got that Joker letter from that person, then she should have definitely gotten those letters from us.
Okay, and Prime points out something really good here, the AT&T hierarchy. Prime, welcome to the show. Do you care to comment on that?
Well, y'all already, hold on. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Bro.
Okay, so y'all already know I'm doing my due diligence before I really go further into this, but I'll just give you my synopsis on this and how this is all panning out. So I want the fandom to really, because I know a lot of people are emotional and they're really going by this article. They have to remember that if you look at the actual date that was on that article was put out on a Sunday. They had already pre-done this before the movie was even out. So when she put this out, they had already they had premeditated this already.
Yes,
they were.
yes.
They was.
And Prime, I love to find out when that interview actually occurred. A week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago. When was it?
Okay, that's gonna be the case. Now y'all have to remember. Now, when y'all look at this slate on how this goes, Okay. Now, and yeah, okay, I want people to take this. I don't say this just to say this, because you have to remember, I do business and I know how this stuff goes. The executive board consists of, I need people to really think on the business element. I'm going to go more in depth in this probably tomorrow or sometime later on in the week when I get more information, and then I go. But for right now, I want people to look at this. The main individuals that are on here are who? These are the individuals that are on the actual board. So the people that are on the board, you got Stanky, Keelar, you got Sarnoff, you got Emmerich, you got Kavanaugh, you got Hermata, and Jim Lee is all the way at the bottom. Now you have to understand what these individuals do and what department that they hold. All right. Now, Sarnoff is right in the middle. She's third in command on the board because she only runs the Warner Brothers branch. Remember what I always say. AT&T is the head. Okay. Warner Brothers, Warner Media are the same corporation under the same umbrella. There's just the divisions are different, but this is going to be the problem. And I need people to understand. Hermata and Stanky and Emmerich, they run Warner Brothers with the rights to DC. You cannot do anything without them signing off on the rights. So if they're not going to allow you to use it, for example, Warner Brothers was not going to allow Zach to put Green Lantern in the movie. Why? Because they knew that he wanted to use it, and at the same time, they trying to use Green Lantern for something else. That's why with the additional photography and why he put Martian Manhunter is and he rewrote it, that's why Martian Manhunter is in it. They were sabotaging this from the jump. Okay? They were sabotaging this from the jump. So when you look at this from all the, so this is the one thing I need people to understand. Yes, HBO Max is the primary where it can go, but we have a problem. We have a very, very huge problem.
Roadblock.
The problem is this. Remember, the Snyder Cut was already filmed. You don't have anything else for another movie.
Right.
Okay.
But there's an easy.
Hold on.
Wait, let Prime finish.
Yeah, hold on, Jeffrey.
Hold on. This is the kicker. All right. You also got to find out. All right. You also got to find out where they're going to get the money. Because if you're going to do all that, you got to remember that's a very, very big budget. A very big budget. If Warner Brothers, even though they're both, I know everybody going to say AT&T is actually the head of all this and what they can do. But you got to remember, don't think for an instant, just because they're in a different division, they don't meet up in the meeting. All of them that's on the board, they have to be in a meeting. So whatever meetings that they do on the executive board, that's what they're going to do, regardless of what the situation is. Stanky and Keelar cannot override anything that Sarnoff is going to do because she's head of the theater division. They can't do anything about that. The only thing that could be done with Keelar is with HBO Max. You got to remember, HBO Max with their budget is the highest for any streaming service that's out there. The limit that they do is 80 million. For you to do a movie or even a series of this magnitude, you got to think of the budget. You got to think of the cast.
You're looking at 300, 400 million at
right
least.
There. You got to think of the cast. That's the first thing. And with the cast, you got to worry about their schedules or if they're willing to do it. Also, you got to remember too, the cast is getting older.
Right.
They're getting older. You also got to think about this. To film, just to film. So let's just say Zach does come back and HBO Max allows them. I mean, HBO Max says we want to do it. WB has to chip in.
Okay.
And if WB decides that they want to chip in, it's not going to happen. This is why I say it's going to be a problem. All right.
But there's actually something else that you're not really paying attention to that really is something that you actually have to pay attention to. Like you're talking about the whole meetings and all that of the business aspect. Now I get that you're part of EA. That's really the main thing that EA is probably about. But my thing is, I'm always trying to look at this from all angles. Like you said, you talked about the cast being older and all that. Yes, the cast has shown and a lot of the cast of the Snyder Cut have shown interest in returning to in restoring the Snyderverse and not just and I'm not just talking about Ray Fisher, Ray Porter. You also have Joe Manganiello, and also some of the other cast as well. So with that out of the way, you have that right there with the cast. Boom, not a problem, except for the age, right? Like you said. So my thing is, you have this. You
Way
show
more
me
into it than just the
right,
age. Yeah.
right.
Way more
But
to
you
it than
show
just the
me
age.
right. But you show me this tree here. That's really where the crucial part comes in. This is a yes or no question, Prime. Can Stanky and Jason Kilar fire fire Toby Emmerich or Walter Amada just for an example? Yes or no?
Yes, they can, but they won't.
Won't or
No.
They will not.
choose
They
to?
won't.
They won't. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, you got to remember this is about business. I'm telling you from the business aspect. We're all running with our feelings on for something that we want. You have to think realistically here.
No, I am.
Okay.
Really, that's the thing.
The only way.
Like,
Hold on. The only way Hermada will get fired. The only way. You ain't got to worry about Emmerich. Emmerich is a yes man. He ain't going nowhere. Okay, he ain't going nowhere. The only way that Hermada is going to get fired, if that Batman flops, he's gone.
But really, like
hold on.
wait.
Batman, hold on. You got to remember, they want to erase and eradicate everything. They don't want to deal with none of this.
Right.
Regardless of the situation. Okay, let me finish.
Right.
Let me finish. You gotta hold that. So with that being said, y'all have to look at the business element.
Right.
These executives are going to look for themselves. Remember what I always say. Okay, I deal with it all the time. I see it. Executives. Okay, I want y'all to think on the panel. When it come down to an audience, who was the greater denominator?
The general audience.
There you go.
And in turn, this is really where that business aspect comes in.
So
the general audience is now turning in and is now saying that they're now interested in the Snyderverse as well.
Okay,
so once again, like let's say a few months go by and let's talk hypothetical, because you have to think about, because like I said, I think about this on all angles, from both the business side, the fan, and really the wallet side of things which is where the business side always comes in. Because you have to remember, AT&T is in debt. That's the thing that I think you're not paying attention to.
I'm just listening to your outlook.
So I got a quick thing. So say this happens and okay, nobody wants to fork over the money, and Warner Brothers Pictures doesn't want to fork over the money to bankroll, Justice League 2 and 3 over an HBO Max. So basically, the $70 million that they invested in AT&T, right, Warner Media, is going to be basically a one shot for extra subscriptions for the beginning of the first quarter or second quarter of this year to help promote HBO Max. So here's $70 million, Zach. Here you go. We'll see what happens here, and thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. You helped us get some subscriptions.
Exactly. So, now y'all have to, and what you saying that, Cisco, because you have to look at it. I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it because I don't want to discourage.
Prime.
Okay.
Say it.
So a lot of people thinking that Keelar is your friend. He's not. He's an executive. They had to have something to get HBO Max on the board.
And how can it stay
I'm
on
not
the
done,
board?
Jeff. I'm not done. You needed something to get HBO Max off the ground. To have something exclusive, they had something in tow. With us as a movement and with us doing it, this is the key factor, what I said prior. The movie was already filmed. So with the money in tow on what they needed, how much was it for them to do the additional photography and the special effects in tow? How much was it?
That was the 70 million.
70 million. HBO Max budget is 80. They had to wait till they got the money. Once they got the money, they paid for that. This ain't got nothing to do with Warner Brothers. Ain't nothing got nothing to do with Warner Brothers. If this movie was not filmed, it's not happening. It would have never happened. So y'all have to take into consideration. Warner Brothers has the bigger budget. AT&T has the budget. They have the bigger budget. Come on, Jeff. I want to hear it because on this part,
Okay.
I deal with business all day. I want to.
Okay, then. Here's the
Wait.
thing.
I gotta stop you there. I gotta stop you there, Jeff, just to read this real quick because I think this kind of, pads the point a little bit here. John McIntyre says, but I would say that Zack Snyder's Justice League has reached a general audience. Stephen Colbert parodied the Snyder Cut on his Late Show. That tells me it's reached a larger audience outside of the fan base. And this is one of the things that we have going for us right now, Jeff. We have the fact that the general, like you said, the general audience is taking to the Snyder Cut in a very positive way. So that can only help us moving forward when we look at the financial side and we look at the dollars and cents that Prime is talking about right now. But go ahead. Go ahead.
And perfect time too. This all happened when there are no movies in theaters. And I think that is really, really kind of another thing that's really helped push this into the cultural zeitgeist in a way that it probably wouldn't have if it was competing with whatever Marvel was farting out at this month or whatever was coming out still. And I think that's another thing that you guys have going for you is that this all coalesced at this perfect moment where everybody's stuck at home and, we needed, to see a redemption story like what we got from Zack Snyder. Because in my opinion, dude's been vindicated. So that's what I needed to see personally as a fan of his.
There's been some talk that HBO Max and Netflix are talking exclusivity deal with Snyder. So we're going to see what happens.
Right. And then, so if Zack Snyder, if he signs an exclusive, if Zack's, the writing will be on the wall. If Zack Snyder signs an exclusivity deal with HBO Max, that's how we know the Snyder Cut is the Snyderverse is continuing. If he signs if he signs it with Netflix, we know it's it becomes the cul-de-sac that Ann Sarnoff was talking about.
Now, everything that you're saying makes perfect sense, but remember what I said. Who owns the rights to DC property?
Exactly.
Well, exactly. Yeah. They could contract it out. They could contract, right? Look at Sandman. Like Seal was discussing. Sandman's already going to Netflix, right? So
Lucifer's on Netflix. It's DC too.
Here's the thing: if AT&T wants to talk dollars and cents and they want to pay off debt, they could sell DC films to Netflix and they'll make money. You know what?
Because Netflix will buy them, exactly. And if Netflix buys them, we know the Snyderverse is going to continue.
Exactly. If DC films are such if they can't get it together as a company and have the same vision, even though the Hamadaverse sounds like it's going to be all over the place. Okay,
it is.
They need to. Why don't you just AT&T as a company? You know what? Why don't you just sell it? You got to cut debt anyway. You don't have to deal with the headaches anymore, and just sell it to Netflix, and they'll pay you a nice penny.
That would be an actual thing that I could actually see them doing, to be honest, because this is the thing. They don't like the Snyder Cut fan base. They don't like us, and we're not going anywhere. So that's number one. They don't like us. They want to be rid of us. They keep talking about trying to dangle all these other things in front of us, like the Hamadaverse and all this stuff. We don't care about any of that. We're all in for Zack Snyder's 5-movie arc. They may get to a point where they just, throw up their hands and are like, you know what? Let's just move on from this altogether and sell it to Netflix. I think that would be the greatest thing that could happen, to be honest with you.
That would be absolutely great. But let me say my last point, and then everybody else say their thing. And I want people to listen to this part too. Like I say, I'm still getting all my research and getting all the pieces and everything together. But this is one part of the equation. They so stuck on Marvel. They keep on preaching Marvel, or the DC formula. Okay, that's what they keep on preaching. Okay, why do y'all think that Hamada and them just want to get rid of it? Because they want to get rid of everything that anything pertains to them, and they want to do whatever. What did Marvel say before DC said anything? That they're doing something new, but then DC wanted to do it.
Yeah,
the multiverse. When Marvel said they was going to do the multiverse, DC did it. Right after that, that's where Arthur Hamada got his idea. Well, since Marvel was doing it and they successful, they want to do the Marvel way. They're going to do that multiverse, meaning that what do you think? What's going to think will happen? Why do you think they're trying to do another Superman? Because they want their own Black Panther. That's why they're going to do the Kate. That's why they're going to do the Superman.
They want Black Panther money. They want Black Panther money.
Right. They want to do their own type of Black Panther. So they're going to do their own genre with the DC property. Why do you think they're going to do the Flash movie? Why do you think they're cutting everything out? Well, they're trying to reset everything.
Yeah, the Flash movie is going to be the reset. I mean, that's what it is. That's why they're trying to push this out, and they're trying to keep on talking down about Snyderverse. They're trying to, hey, people, we got our own thing here. Don't worry about that. And then that's why everybody knows. We all know the reset's going to happen on the Flash. That they're not saying it, but we all know it, right?
Exactly. And the bad thing about it, all of this, and I want people now. Do I feel that the Snyderverse can continue? It's a possibility, but I'm looking at it as of the money element. It's all about the money. It's not that the Snyderverse can't be continued on HBO Max or another platform. Okay, Warner Brothers ain't giving up no money. They're not doing it. They're just trying to get rid of it. They don't have nothing to do with it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want nothing to do with it. Whatever issue they got with Zack Snyder, that's their issue. And it seems like that toxicness has seeped on over to the cast. I just seen something for Gal Gadot, and that hurt my feelings.
What did she say?
What she said was that she didn't like to see Wonder Woman die. It was just on whatchamacallit's thing. Why you think Gal Gadot ain't said shit?
Yeah, and there's and then the other thing is too, look at this already. There's some reports of Keaton. Who knows if he's going to do it after all? He's coming up with these reasons. And
right. And you know what? If Keaton dips, it's because Keaton read this script.
Yep.
He knows it's a hunk of crap and that it doesn't do the DC universe justice and it doesn't do him justice.
Yeah.
He's going to book. Yeah. Michael Keaton is no slouch. This guy, do you guys know for how many years they've been trying to get Michael Keaton to come back? Yeah. No joke. So this would not surprise me if Michael Keaton bails on this movie.
If he bails, that's going to be a huge sign.
Because then you know what they're going to do? You know who they're going to get? I guarantee you,
Jeffrey Dean Morgan or
no. They'll get Christian Bale. Oh. They'll dump the Brinks truck on Christian Bale's lawn, and they'll be like, we need you to suit up, and Christian Bale will suit up. You mark my words. If Michael Keaton is not in this movie, it's going to be Christian Bale who replaces it, because that's the most popular. That's the most popular iteration of Batman outside of Michael Keaton.
Zod, they would have to give Bale a lot of money, because you know how Bale.
But Warner Brothers won't care. Warner Brothers won't care because again, they want to eradicate the Snyderverse, so they're willing to do anything.
Bale is loyal to Christopher Nolan. And guess who Christopher Nolan's buddies with? Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder.
We don't know. That might not even happen either. I'm telling you, that might not even happen either.
I would like to see George Clooney in it. Like, if they can't get Keaton, I think Clooney would be awesome.
What do you think? What do you think, Cyrus? You think you think if Michael Keaton bows out of the Flash, we might see George Clooney?
Wow.
It's gonna be problems.
George
Well,
Clooney.
the Flash is turning into Batman and Robin anyway, so George Clooney would be a perfect fit for that shit.
I can only imagine George Clooney phoning in another Batman performance. Hey, Freeze.
I'm Batman. Dude, that's so good.
Hey,
I think the other factor.
This is why Superman works alone.
I think the other factor. If Keaton leaves, I think the other factor is that he's probably seeing all this Snyder Cut positivity and worldwide buzz, man, and he's like, "Wait a second here. Do I really want to be a part of this? You know, this reset, and you know." And do this? Is this going to be? I'm not a big fan of this script. I'm pretty busy here. I don't know if I want to be a part of this, right? And then he's probably looking at the PR nightmare. He's probably seeing things right now. What's going on with Warner Brothers and all this mishmash and nonsense going on with public relations? It's absolutely ridiculous.
Right, and really just like I'm gonna end on this note, like. Because I know Prime always does really like this really does go down to really kind of like the logic of the situation, and really why I think that debate with me will always go on forever, because I'm always thinking about the long game on situations like these and the different pathways the journey will go to. Like, for example, like, let's just say hypothetically Michael Keaton does actually sign with them and then goes with it. That'll be like, okay, then, but we'll still be here. Well, really, you have to think about this once again in the long game situation. We've been fighting for the longest time for the OG Snyder Cut fans. Like, we've been fighting for the Snyder Cut alone for 3.5 years. What's another 3.5 years of hashtaggers or the Snyderverse? Like, that's really the thing about the long game that I think a lot of people aren't thinking about.
I agree with you, Jeffrey, on the long game, because the reality is, I said this before, the Release the Snyder Cut movement wasn't just about suicide prevention, and it wasn't just about getting that movie out. It was about fulfilling Zack's promise of the 5-movie arc. It was always about what Zack Snyder wanted to do, which was Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Justice League 2, and Justice League 3. That is 5 films. And that's what it is. It's all encompassing to that. So in a way, I agree with you on that, where, restore the Snyderverse. If we're playing the long game, that may very well be what we have to do. That may be what it is, because
for the long game is you guys got to try to get Warner Brothers to sell DC. We're never going to get anything worthwhile from them while it's owned by that company. They've never liked it. They've always been ashamed of it. They've never tried to respect it. They've never tried to bring it to life properly. They don't even know that there's another character involved in it besides Batman. I mean, I'm pretty sure you walk up to Walter Hamada and drop that news on him, the guy will look at you like you just told him that fucking fairies exist or something. Like, I swear to God, like, and that is the key. You got to find somebody that actually wants to do DC things, and sell the company to them, because Warner Brothers is not interested.
Yeah, the idea is we've basically got to make DC, we've got to make this so unpalatable for Warner Brothers that they finally get sick of it to the point where they do sell it to Netflix. Because Barcelona B also makes a great point here where she says, I'm tired of this back and forth stuff with WB. They've literally learned nothing. And that's exactly the case. They don't learn anything because, again, they're looking at it from a very narrow-minded view. Continue, Prime.
What I was saying is that even if it's been so long once they had got the rights a long time ago with DC, and everybody is right though, they have not really use the DC property properly. Ever since they obtained it, they obtained the property back in 1974. See, the 74, 75 is when they obtained the license. So once they had obtained it, they really didn't do anything with it, and that's the problem. And they always go to Batman as their main hit, hit. They have not really gone into the mythos of anything. They really haven't did it. So I think it will be time for them to do it, or if they decide to make their own studio, which I think everybody that's around here, everybody that's everywhere been saying, why don't they just get a DC studio like Marvel got? Because Marvel got their own studio and they just do whatever. So, I mean, either way it go, that's something that, you know, that they have to do. But moving forward, I lost my thought and I just rambled. Oh, that was what I was about to say. I would say this is that the agenda that Warner Brothers has outside of Warner Media, I'm not even worried about that because they're streaming. Just for the theater, and back to what I was saying is that the general audience is that main demographic. They don't care about fans, okay? Because the fans is only 30%. If you really go by analytics standpoint, I'm going by this. It's amazing on how that stat is. So when you go by fans, the analytics is about 30%. So if you go by 30% of the population that are fans, like I say, people know of it, but they're not fans. Like us, we're fans of DC. We're deep in it, okay? But the general casual audience is the primary demographic. They care about that cash. So they could put anything they want out there for the general audience to go out there to go watch it. So they can do whatever it is that they want. That's why they have the narrative on what it is that they want to do. And that's why if Marvel is going to do it, they're going to try to copy it. And this is their chance. And again, like I said, Batman is not going to flop. But I'm going to tell you, and it doesn't add up. Think about it. Shazam 2, I mean, not Shazam. When Shazam came out, Shazam only made over $300 million. Okay, but the budget was low. The reason why they greenlit Shazam 2, critical response. Wonder Woman 84. The reason why they greenlit 3, critical response. And the actual amount of viewers and the anticipation it was when it came out. They got a very, very good profit in theaters. That's why they greenlit it. And what was shown on HBO Max. Suicide Squad, they did that on their own.
Yeah.
So they're just trying to rewrite everything to get whatever it is that they want. And if you think about it, all the material and everything that they're going by old material. That's why I say I'm not excited for that Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah.
They're going off I'm just going to shut up after this. They're going off the 1972 book.
Yeah, and Ryan says this, it's not just money, it's also the egos of the executives making decisions. Executive politics are always at play too.
Yes,
yeah, I agree
right
with
on
that.
it. Yes. So I want everybody to look at the business. It is, trust me, I know because I deal with it with EA all the time. And we already know we know what will make money, but they don't care about that. They care about what's going to make them money. And they care about how they're going to appease those shareholders. So whatever those shareholders, whatever money that they're going to put into play in that pot, you got to appease those shareholders. So they don't want to have nothing like, they're going to cater to the critics. They're going to cater to those crybabies. That's what they're going to do. And once you do that, that's the general audience. They worrying about that. They're not worried about fan service. It's fucked up, but that's what it is. So, you know, and people, I don't like saying it. I like stuff to be at the material that's very, very good. We might think it's good, but that general audience, they don't. And that's the problem when it comes down to business. So it's a thin line. But we have it's 50-50. You know, HBO Max, depending on what could actually happen. Because if it does happen, Zach is going to have to film both movies all at once. He's going to have to do it all at once.
It's going to have to be a Back to the Future, back to back kind of thing.
Lord of the Rings, that mofo.
Yeah.
They're going to have to do it all back to back. Why I say that? Because the cast is getting older.
Yeah,
and this can't wait long.
That would make sense. I mean, you have to still do it back to back and knock it out all once within a 4-month period. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
you gotta. That's the only way this is going to happen. They're going to have to knock it out all at once.
So, and then probably do it as a series if they can. Justice League 2, a 4-part series, and then the final one, the third, the finishes arc, another 4-parter, right?
Yeah,
because it'll be profitable on the streaming site. It will, but it's all about that money and it's about the cast coming back. So those are the obstacles that got to be done. Got to remember, cast got to be willing to come back. They're getting older, and they got to come up with the money to pay them, and they also got to come up with the money to film it. So these are obstacles that y'all have to really worry about, especially when HBO Max has already stated for any title that they're doing right up front, they will fund $80 million. Where would the other money come from?
That's where the problem's going to come in, Prime, because that's where that other money is going to have to come from Warner Brothers to be padded over the rest, and that's the issue. But with that, we're at the over the 2-hour mark, and that's kind of where I like to wrap up these shows so that we don't go all night. So I want to go around the panel here and get everybody's final thoughts, and I'm going to start with you, Prime. Overall, what do you think, man?
I want, there's a lot more information that's going to come out because we already know Warner Brothers. They doing this. They already put their narrative out there. The general audience is not going to know this, but people that are really, really deep in, we know what the deal is. And as long as the information is getting out there, so people are out there to know what's going on, we'll have more people that can get on, that can get on the horse's back as well. But this is not the first phase of this was the easy part. This not going to be easy at all. And I want people to really, really take into consideration. You got to put the business side of this and really do your due diligence to really look at the business and how this is going to work. Because like I say, they can have the money, but one entity can mess up anything. It's just like Congress. You can have 50, you can have 40 yeas, but then you got 50 nays. Or you can have 50 yeas, but have 51 nays. And it could be that one vote that can mess it all up. So you got to take that into consideration. Powers to be. So you have to take the business element as it may. I don't like the business element, but it is what it is. I want it as much as everybody else. But I don't want to, discourage people, but that's just the truth of the matter. Yeah. But I feel that it will come, but it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be very hard.
All right, and Cisco, what are your final thoughts, my friend?
Final thoughts. First of all, I'm just even if something happens, and hopefully it doesn't because it's just bad business. But if Zack Snyder can't continue his arc, I'm thankful that we got to see this. It was a fantastic film. I was blown away. I'm mesmerized. I've already seen it. I'm going on the 5th time on multiple devices. So hey, try and see it. Keep on seeing it, folks, on multiple devices. Keep on streaming that sucker.
Multiple devices.
And the word of mouth is already absolutely great for this film. It's going to do fantastic for the next month or two. The buzz is going to be huge. It's already huge. But the fans, I think we all know what the battle is to continue to restore the Snyderverse and keep on tweeting about it and be professional about it. Try not to attack too many of these executives and too much of these idiots that are trying to sabotage it, right? But we could only do so much, but we could do what we got to do, right? Rally the troops.
Absolutely.
Rally
the troops in a positive way.
Yeah,
I agree.
Keep on pushing forward, folks. And then if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But hopefully it does. If it's a smart business decision, right? Hopefully it does happen, and he's able to continue these next 2 films. And that's the good thing, right? That's the good part of it. It's the positive. Hey, he was able to do this, and why can't we continue to do business with Zack Snyder on our HBO Max streaming platform, which is a perfect platform for his content, whether it's DC or not? It's just smart business. But there's other factors like Prime mentioned to it. So just praise what we got, folks. Keep on watching it in different devices, and keep fighting the good fight.
All right, and Mads Mama Bear, can we get your final thoughts on the subject?
And I'm just going to basically reiterate what everyone else is basically saying. We cannot put out enough good press about this.
Yes.
People need to hear about this. And yeah, even Uche shared it on his Twitter that March 25th, there is a Restore the Snyderverse hashtag being set up for a specific time. It's on my
Yes.
Twitter as well. So yes, please do that. Make your voice heard. This is how, like, we gotta hope that they actually will, stand up and actually hear that this is what we want. They want our money. Let's get them to listen on what we want.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's perfect. And Truth 31, let's get your final thoughts.
Oh, I already know this is gonna happen. like all this talk, all this noise. Like, yeah, well, we're not gonna continue this. This is over. This is cul-de-sac. I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, this is all hot smoke. We've heard this before. There's no Snyder cut, so don't even ask for it. And what happened? We just witnessed a 4-hour epic on an HBO Max streaming service. This is highly successful, which is why they won't release the numbers, because they already know, like, oh shit, like, this is really big. This is really huge. And what Warner Brothers didn't count on, they didn't count on the general audience liking it, because they just thought, like, oh, this is just gonna be for the hardcore Snyder fans, and then it's gonna blow over, and they're gonna enjoy it. But no, the fact that most people outside of this community, everyone else, are like, you know what, like, this is really good. We want to continue this. We want to see more of this. I think that's gonna put some pressure, a lot of pressure from Warner Brothers. Like, hey, the Snyderverse, where's that at? And why are you giving us this Batwheels movie? Yeah, we don't want that shit. Bye bye. We want the Snyderverse. And I think, like, to me, this is all just hot noise. And I'm expecting to see this maybe 2022, 2023, shoot this back to back. And then, you know what? It's over. We got the 5-film arc, and fans will be very happy. So to me, like, this is all just hot noise.
And your take on it is very beautiful, Truth. I hope that that's exactly what happens, man. Thank you very much for sharing your vision on this. And can I get your final thoughts, Jeffrey?
Well, really, I think all of my stuff can be summed up in this with the restoration of the Snyderverse. And I know that a lot of people have their heads down, but in the words of Batfleck, faith.
Perfect. Couldn't have said it better myself. And Cyrus, final thoughts.
Well, I'll say this. The movie was better than I expected. I don't know what I expected, but it was better than that. And I hope there's more. I hope we get more, because I would love to do another podcast.
Oh, absolutely. This is so much fun. And Johnny, can we get your final thoughts?
Oh man, well, I predicted this earlier. And I thought that this was going to be the definitive pod for this subject, and I'm right. I just, like, all the knowledge that was dropped here tonight, I'm really happy to have been part of it, because I have followed this saga for years with you, my best friend, and it's just been great to watch you struggle, and then to get vindicated and to see Zach so rightfully vindicated in the daylight, and just finally being applauded as an artist like he's always kind of deserved. So even if this is all we get, I'm pretty happy with it, because I got to have a really kind of cool memory with a friend, and I got to see an artist have his day in the sunshine. So
awesome.
Even if the Snyderverse doesn't carry on, I'm not going to cry.
And we're
personally.
gonna
Army of the Dead this year.
Army of the Dead as well. Yeah, see, this is the year of Snyder. And you know what? We're going to finish out the show with you. We're going to finish out the show with you, Carlos. Your final thoughts. You have the floor for the final moments of the show.
Yeah, I'm hopeful, hopefully optimistic. I don't know, like, there were some actual factuals dropped this podcast, and it really is something to keep consideration. There is a bit of caution that we need to take when thinking about these things, but we can't, if we really believe in this and we're really passionate about it, we can't let anything deter us from showing that passion in everything we do in YouTube or on Twitter. So just keep going, and I'm gonna keep going. So hashtag release the Ayer cut, hashtag restore the Snyderverse, and hashtag
pow pow. Hashtag pow pow, right, Zod?
All right.
Pow, pow.
We'll see you next week. I want to thank everybody here who joined me on the panel today. This was a hell of a panel. Lots of great people, tons of great voices. I thank every single one of you for being here, and I thank every single one of you who are watching this live and who are going to watch this later on the replay. This was a lot of fun. I will echo the sentiments of all my friends here. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse, and we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Later.